Now, please, I ask you to stay with me. This is probably going to be a very long video. I think the content on this introduction is excellent, but that's just me. Now, let's start with 1A and 1. I've broken it into two separate categories on the first video. Now, 1A is why you see my face pixelated, okay? You never want anybody to know that you have more than they have. That would be very simple. Boom, the situation is over, okay? Now, I'm going to give you two situations here, okay, that never need to happen if you just keep it to yourself that you're preparing, okay? Now, the first one, there's probably a lot of you out there. Are you thin-skinned? Can you take it? Because if you start telling friends and neighbors, co-workers what you do, there is a lot of negativity out there, folks. Really. They're going to call you a doom and gloomist, a nut. So much negativity that it could derail your preparedness, which would be a shame. So, if you keep quiet about what you do, all right, then that situation is gone. Just like I said, you don't want anybody to know you have more than they do. Okay? Now, the next one is a little bit different, and I'll go into detail on that. It's sort of a scenario situation. Now, let's just say you did let the cat out of the bag. You told your neighbors, friends, co-workers, I got thick skin. I can handle it. Okay, if that's the way you want to go with it. Now, we've all seen in this last 3 months very bad times, folks. We have the pandemic that is flattening the curve so far, but now it's coming back. We had panic buying at the stores. They cleaned out the grocery stores. Okay, and the end of May and June, we had civil unrest. Now, it looks like things are in a little bit of a lull, which is good for us because you can top off your preparations. But let's just go with, say, it doesn't have a lull, and this goes for 6 months to a year, okay? Now, you've lived in this nice neighborhood, maybe a nice cul-de-sac, maybe just a nice neighborhood in USA, okay? Everybody knows everybody. Very tight neighborhood. Your children play with their children, okay? You go to barbecues, pool parties, birthday parties. You invite some of the neighbors over to your house. You go over to their house for dinner, okay? Maybe you go out with them. Maybe they're your boss. Who knows? You never know. Maybe you're their boss. Okay, now the scenario goes like this. You've prepared, which, to be very honest with you, is going to take a good amount of money. And you're going to have to sacrifice on certain things if you really want to do this. Now, you've done it. The only thing you've done wrong is you let the cat out of the bag and you've told everybody. Now, of course, you're scared, just like I was when this hit, even though I was doing this for 12 years. I was 3 weeks ahead of the panic buying, just topping off my preparations. But let's just say you're all topped off. You did what I did, okay? And my rule is 12 months of food plus, and then 3 months plus of water, or a way you can purify it. Now, it comes to the point where you get the proverbial knock on the door, and it's your neighbor, again, of 5, 10, 15 years. Now, he tells you the story that he just went to the grocery store, and there was lines, and they were only letting one person in when one person comes out. When he got in there, the meat and the chicken were cleaned out. Now, I saw that on this 3 months, so it can happen. And a lot of the paper goods and canned goods were all cleaned out, but he picked up some vegetables and some canned goods that were left. And he cornered the manager. Now, the manager said to him, "Don't worry about it. I get 2 truckloads every week." He said, "As soon as the next week comes, the store will be filled up again. Don't worry about anything. So you go on your way." Okay? Now, what happens when he asks you for a couple of roasts, a couple of chickens, some vegetables, and canned goods? Okay? Now, you've already let the cat out of the bag. And he says, he tells you the story, what the manager said. He said he'll replenish what you have next Friday when he goes shopping. Now, I'm a very charitable person. I believe we all should help each other. But in a very bad situation or disaster, I believe charity starts at home. Now, I cannot advise you one way or the other on what you're going to do. Okay? I would commend you if you went into your pantry and gave him whatever he wanted or whatever you could give him. That's very admirable. But I know what I would do, okay, because to start with, this situation would never happen, okay, because I would not have let the cat out of the bag. Now, you do have a lot of situations. If you're nice and you give him whatever he wants, what happens when either there is longer lines and all the meat and chicken are cleaned out the next Friday, and he can't get there in time because the truck comes in the morning, but he's going to work and he has nobody to shop? Now, how many knocks on a door are you going to be able to do? Did you prepare for your neighbors? No, you prepared for your immediate family. And why I say plus 12 months is, the relatives that are in your area are going to come over knocking, okay, because maybe they didn't buy into preparing. Okay, but you didn't prepare for the neighbors. Now, if this goes on a long time, your preparations will be used up. Okay? But if you say no and be hard on them, and what happens if it clears up in 4 or 5 months? Okay, everything goes back to the normal, okay? Grocery stores are stocked up. Now you've made an enemy. Never be a friend again. So, like I said, this situation and this scenario is on you. Both of them can never happen if you just keep your mouth quiet and go on and prepare for you and your immediate family and relatives. Okay, that's it. Now, number 1 is food and water. That's in conjunction with 1A. Now, besides having a full pantry, okay, 12 months plus of food, 3 months plus of water, you also need sustainable food sources, because in a disaster, that's going to be depleted very fast, okay? Your food sources are going to be very much depleted. So what about learning how to plant a garden? Not just grabbing a book, listening to somebody at work tell you how to do it. Because let me ask you, some people just do not have a green thumb. Do you want the learning curve to come during a situation or a disaster when you need the crops to grow? There's a lot more to that than what really meets the eye, okay? You really need to know planting seasons, harvest season, soil condition, composting. There's a lot to know. So if you start now, you won't have the learning curve bite you, okay? Now, what about getting 4 or 5 little chicks at your grain store? Okay, build a coop, raise them. Now you'll get 4 or 5 eggs a day, right? Minus the molting season. right? And what about a goat? If you have the property and if it's legal to do it in your municipality. Some of them are a little tough. But now you have somewhat of a sustainable food sources, right? To go along with your full pantry, which is a good thing. Now, a lot of you are going to say, this takes a lot of money. And yes, it does. I would like to bring, this is why I think this channel is a lot different than the other ones. I'd like to show you quickly, but we'll dive into this a lot deeper. You're going to have to sacrifice, period, ifs, ands, or buts, unless you're very well off, and then you can get it all done. And it won't actually really, it's not that it's going to hurt you, it's just going to be sacrifice. But I told you about the lull. Now, I've been at my grocery store the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I don't know where you are watching from, but there were signs about a month ago, 1 beef, 1 chicken product per shopper, okay? Now it's opened up, unlimited. They said, for now. It's a good time to get a little extra meat and chicken, right? But that's not where I was going on that one. The stores are getting back to being full, which is good for us. But at the end cap, there was 5 pounds of parboiled rice, okay, on sale for $3.79-ish. I don't know if that's a good price, folks. I really don't. Now, what I want you to do now is, I know the answer to this, but if you're really into preparing, go on the internet and type in, how many pounds of rice does one person need per day to survive? Okay, now you know that 5 pounds that you just bought for $4, right? How long that's going to last you. Now, you're going to say you don't like rice. But in a situation or disaster, if rice is all you have, you're going to eat it or starve, folks. Period, ifs, ands, or buts. But you can do a few little things, and I said, now I don't want to, I'm not recommending even grocery items on this channel. But you know there's a canned meat, okay? Now you can get that. You don't have to refrigerate it. You can dice it up. You can fry it along with vegetables. Heat the vegetables up. Stick it in with the rice that you just found out how much you need. And there you got a meal, and it's actually really palatable. But not every day. You can't eat it every day. For a while you can. But I don't know the specific word associated with it. But if some people, if they eat the same thing day in and day out, they just stop eating. Okay, that's why you do need a variety of food. Okay, you can't just go out and buy 400 pounds of rice and say you got a year's, I don't know how many people are in your family, you have it all covered. Okay, it's a good, I mean, it's a good idea, but it doesn't make sense because people will not just eat so many pounds of rice a day to survive unless it's a real bad disaster. So you could start there. Now you say, now sometimes I'll tell you, when I was back in the day, you know, I really didn't have the budget to prepare. Now I've been doing this for 12 years. I believe I said that before. But, you know, if you just sacrifice a little bit, and I'll give you 3 examples. Okay? Do you know that coffee place you go through to drive through every morning before work because you got to have your coffee to get you started in the morning? Could you brew some coffee at home and save that extra money? What about now if you're in an office situation or a situation where at work they order out? Okay, everybody gets together, chips in, and they all eat lunch. Could you have the thick enough skin to just tell them, I'm going to brown bag it? You don't have to tell them any reason. It's none of their business. But you could say you just want to eat healthy if you wanted to go that route. And now, I'm not saying be a hermit. After 40 hours of work, even I was tired. Everybody likes to unwind, go to the bar, have a couple drinks, maybe take their significant other out for a nice restaurant. I mean, it just makes you feel better, you know, and in the summer, maybe go boating and stuff. All this does cost money. And it is good. It is good for the old, well, it makes you feel better anyway, and it makes you unwind. But could you, if you do it 4 times a month, could you cut it down to 2 times a month? Or just make it a little less? Stick that money in a little envelope, all right? Mark it Preparedness, all right? And then stick it in the your HIP National Bank. And when you go preparing, after you got the family's groceries done, pick up maybe a 50-pound bag of rice and some of the canned meats and stuff, and stick it in your pantry. Now, I know you're going to say, gee, it might take me 2, 3, 4 weeks. It will, folks, but I guarantee you, if you see, if your eyes are opened about what's been going on for these 3 months, and you want to do this, once you start preparing, you will feel better. You will say you can't wait till you go shopping on Friday to pick up a little extra to make yourself feel good that you're preparing for your family. Okay? Now we're going to move on to home defense. Now, if you're one of those people, and I don't look down at you at all, that really are adamant you don't like guns and you'll never have one, I get it, folks. I get it. Now, there are ways you can fortify your house in civil unrest. I'll go over in detail on my second video. But you can get security locks, specialized security locks, and bolts. They're better than the normal ones that you would just get cheaply. All right. You can get a security bar. Okay. Now, around your windows, they make this film that you put on it. So if somebody throws a rock in there or something or whatever, it won't shatter the glass. It'll just make it harder for them to come in. Now, you also do have, you could have an alarm. You could have alarm signs. You could have cameras, and you can light your property up at night. All these are good ideas. But I'm going to cut to the chase right off the bat. That's only going to slow them down, folks, period. You're going to have to deal with them. They're going to get in. So you have the choice of a lot of other things that we'll go into on the next video. But if you're the kind of person that said, I'm going to go the firearms route, I would suggest that you do it legally. Now, if you're in the state that requires you to get a permit before you purchase, go down to the municipality, get fingerprinted like they probably are going to do, and they're going to want references, and you got to fill out an application, and then you wait. So while you're waiting for your permit, why don't you just figure out by going on YouTube, because there's a lot of videos on what is the best firearm for home defense. Now, that's a choice you have to make. Also, now that you've made your decision to get a firearm, what we're going to do is we're going to go over what you do after you purchase it. Okay? The first thing I would say is sign up for a safety course and pass it. If you don't understand anything the instructor says, they're firearm people. Any question you've asked is not a stupid question. Okay? They've had them time and time and time again, and they will help you. Now, if there's a little friction on one instructor, take the course again, but pass it and be knowledgeable. Okay? Now, the second one is you must be familiar with your firearm. Okay? So go to the range, know what it feels like to pull the trigger, the recoil, sight it in, practice, practice, practice. Not just once, every month. Range time is relatively cheap, folks. And I'm going to tell you something that will make you less afraid. And it will benefit you in a situation where you need to protect yourself and your family. Okay, now number 3 is probably a little stupid, But all your new guns come with a little manual that comes with it. Read it cover to cover. Okay? Know how to clean your firearm. Get yourself a cleaning kit. Okay? Know how to take it apart properly. Okay? That's very important. Now the fourth one, I guess I'll say should be number one. The day you purchase your firearm is the day you want to buy a gun safe and trigger locks. Bring that safe home, find an inconspicuous place for it, bolt it to the floor, and put your guns with the trigger locks in your safe. Now, some states, it is illegal to leave a loaded firearm within the reach of a child. And I agree 100%. We never want a child to get at your firearms. That's why we got a safe, right? Now, I know when I open up the comments on the fifth one, I know I'm going to have a lot of people saying, what good is putting your gun in a safe with trigger locks in a home invasion or civil unrest? Point well taken, folks. I'm a little bit safety oriented. Now, if you have also fortified your house so that somebody just can't kick the door in and it makes it hard, maybe you might have 30 to 45 seconds to wake up and get into your safe, which I feel is a better option. Okay? Now, if you if you remember when we were in school, they had on your lockers, they had those little combination things, and I don't know if you did it, but I did it. If you were going to go from one class to the other and drop off books and get them, you might put the first two combinations in, and the third one you'd put a couple of clicks out so that you can get in real quick, out, and go to your next class. Well, I'm going to tell you I was guilty on that. This is why I'm saying trigger locks. Okay? Now, I was in and out of my safe cleaning my guns and doing other things with it. And I accidentally, on the last one, and I was doing that, I put the first two combinations in, and the third one, I was like 4 clicks out, just so I could get in quickly. Okay? But I forgot. 4 or 5 days later, I found it. And I felt a little bummed out about myself because I consider myself safety first. Okay? I'm a safety-oriented guy. But at least nobody got into the safe. Okay? Because young teenagers and young kids, they just pull on that handle and turn it, and it could open. But I did have that second layer of safety, the trigger locks. So in a way, I felt bad about myself, but I felt good about myself. So, I know you can hit me real bad in the when I open up the comments, but I'm okay with that. Okay, now we're going to touch on confiscation. Now, if you go on the internet and type in Katrina, you're going to find out a lot of sites you go to say there was confiscation, and there's a lot of sites that say there wasn't. Who knows what happened there? It's a long time ago. But I'll just tell you what I would do in a situation like that. If they came to confiscate it, I would maybe see if they would give me a receipt. They might not. But I would not obstruct, and I would comply. I know the Second Amendment guys are going to tear me up on that one. I would rather fight them in court. Okay? I don't want to give them any reason to arrest me on the spot. Okay? Now, am I going to, when they knock on my door, am I going to help them find my guns? No. But I'm just not going to obstruct. If they have a search warrant, if they barge into the house, let them do what they got to do. They get it, they get it. They miss it, they miss it. Okay? Now, in a situation like Katrina, where there's mandatory evacuations, And you might be an avid hunter or whatever, and you don't want to take your guns in your car. Okay, but you don't want to leave them in your house, okay, for the looters and the gangs, because you know as soon as you leave, there's going to be those kind of thugs out there. So if you made a decision that you might want to bury your firearms, which I don't really suggest, but I'm just throwing that topic by you. I guess you got to get a waterproof cylinder, and I'm going to tell you why I say this. You bury your firearm vertically, not horizontal, and I'll tell you why. It's for the detectorist, the metal detectorist. Okay, you give them a smaller target. Now, if you happen to have a crawl space that is, it's not concreted over, but it's a dirt, you could find out where your water lines are, and you could bury your firearms vertically underneath that water line, so that even the most advanced detectors that they have today, and they're pretty much technically advanced, when he puts that loop over that, it's going to hit first the metal pipe, and it might throw them off a little bit. But now, if you're getting a new home, having it built, and they haven't done final grade yet, what you could do is, you get your cylinder and figure out how many you're going to have, and you can start by taking any kind of metal, steel, or anything, paint cans, aluminum cans, pull tabs, and spread them out all around your house, the backyard, wherever you're going to bury it. Not in one spot, all over the place. Go down to your sporting goods store and get as many BBs as you can and just put them all over the place. Now, we all have a penny jar and a nickel jar, okay? That's what I would suggest, nickels and pennies. And throw them all over the place. Okay, now I've been, as you can well figure out, I'm a little older now, but I've been doing this since 17. I was a detectorist, a metal detectorist. Now, if you have a lot of junk, the modern day metal detectors, they can discriminate against metals, but you're going to have steel under there too, and you're going to have it all over the place. So I would say it is very, very, very hard to fool the detector, the modern day detector. Now, we're talking about that there's a possibility that maybe somebody saw you burying something and they don't know it, and maybe they told the gangs, okay, or the looters, or they might be the looters. Could be your next door neighbor. So they might have a metal detector. So that's what we're sort of aiming at, that scenario. Now, it is very hard to fool the detector. So what are we trying to do, folks? We are trying to fool or frustrate the detectorist. If he has to adjust that, no pull tabs, no cans, no this, no that, and you are going to have regular metal down there, right? Just like I said, you'll have some steel and all kinds of metal all over the place. He might just say, look, I can't do this. There's nothing here. Okay? That's best case scenario. But that's a thought. Okay? That's a thought on how you could fool the detectorist and frustrate him. Okay, now, the next thing is fiat currency. Now remember, I am not a financial advisor or fiduciary. Now, that's the money you have in your pocket right now, in the bank, in your 401ks. It's not backed by gold anymore, folks. They took us off that standard a long time ago. Now, the government, and I'm not anti-government at all, please, don't even go there. I love this country. But sometimes the government, the politicians, think they know what's best for the people, which doesn't coincide with what our founding fathers had in mind for our freedoms and what's best for us. So we've all seen Venezuela, Argentina, Zimbabwe, where their currency, fiat currency, is almost worthless. I hear in Venezuela they're paying with silver, they're paying with our dollars, they're paying with Bitcoin for goods and services. So if you think things like that can't happen in our country, okay, you're widely mistaken. It can. Now, I'll give you an example. In Cyprus, the Cypriots, when their government mismanaged tax money, the people are the ones that were going to bear the burden of this. All right, they, for I don't know how long it was, but they, I believe, could only take so much out of their bank, okay, out of the ATMs or whatever, per day until they got the situation back on track. What about in Greece, the Greek people? I forget, but we all saw that on TV, that there were like riots and stuff, and they could only take so many euros out of their ATMs, all right, because the government mismanaged their money. Now we are right now, I don't even know if these figures are current, 23 trillion in debt, but of course you have to add the 3+ trillion for the stimulus. And I'm probably way off with all the stuff that they're doing, okay? So the Fed, I believe the balance sheet now is 7 trillion, and I hear them say they're comfortable with it. Come on, folks. Let's just put it in perspective. 1,000 billion equals 1 trillion. Are they ever going to be able to pay off this debt? No. I'm just going to say no. I'm not even going to say maybe. No. Are they going to be able to normalize interest rates? Do you remember that 5% back 30, 40 years ago when you went into the bank, you got a passbook account? Are they going to be able to do that again, 5%, 4%, anything? No. How could they service the debt if they normalize interest rates? Just think about it, folks. The only thing that can happen is something bad. And who do you think is going to be on the wrong end of that stick? It's going to be us, the people. Okay? Now, I will give you a couple of scenarios. Now, first of all, I want to say what I do is I personally invest in constitutional silver, United States, half dollars, quarters, dimes, silver, and gold. I keep enough money out to run my household, pay my bills, go on vacation. Anything extra, that's where it goes. I want to be out of the dollar. You make your own mind up with your own financial advisor. But there are people out there that say you can't eat gold. And I know there's going to be them down in the comments as soon as I open it up. But I'm going to give you two scenarios, okay? The first scenario is let's just say you get a little bit of breaking news like they put on the TV that the United States has been taken off the world reserve currency. Now you heard that Friday night some. Breaking news again over the weekend, your president. Now this is a scenario. Your president comes on and orders a banking holiday for 30 days plus because of that. So they can come up with another financial system and maybe new currency. You're only allowed to take out $200 maybe out of your ATM until this gets straightened out. Okay? You have to use your credit cards or whatever. Now just remember, the example of this happened in Cyprus and it had in Greece, so it could happen here. Now, on Monday, you're a little scared, so you go to the shop. You go to shop in your grocery store. You walk in there, nothing, no panic buying, nothing. But there's a little sign on there that says, please go to the rear of the store to the coin exchange. You know what that meant. So you went back there because you brought 2 rolls of silver quarters. You go back there. You hand the lady the 2 rolls of quarters. She opens them up, makes sure they're quarters, make sure they're silver, hands you a food coupon, okay, a voucher. You go shopping, store's stocked up, you go to the cashier, give him the voucher, you're on your way. Okay, now that's a situation where gold and silver is, you can barter with it. So the people who say you can't eat gold and silver are wrong. Okay? You go to your gas station. They're bartering gold and silver there too. Maybe best to have smaller denominations of silver coins, yes. Your burger places, your big box stores, there's no civil unrest, and everything just goes on very neatly. Very structured collapse. That's what I call it, a structured collapse. Now, the other scenario is, on Monday, you go to the store, the grocery store, and the gangs have taken over the food warehouses and your local grocery store. Get out of the car and you see like 4 guys. They're 300-pound plus, 6'5", all muscled out, standing in front of the entrance with their arms crossed. Very intimidating. You try to get by, they say, no, we run this store now. What do you want? I want to go grocery shopping. You say, well, what are you going to pay with? And then you say to them, well, I got 2 rolls of silver quarters. They say, well, let me see them. You don't want to do that because you're intimidated and you're feeling uncomfortable about it, but you need some groceries, so you give it to them. They take a quick look and they say, these aren't silver, get out of here. What are you going to do, folks? What are you going to do? You're going to turn around and you're going to leave. Lesson learned. That's why you have 12 months plus in your pantry and sustainable food sources for that. Now, the people who say you can't eat gold and silver, they're right on that one. They're right on that scenario on civil unrest. So, we'll dive into that a little deeper. But the next one would be off-grid power. Okay, what are you going to do if the electric goes out for more than just one day? And it's sort of like off because of civil unrest. Okay, we're not talking about a hurricane or a tree down the power lines. No, we're talking about civil unrest. The power's not coming back on. Now, 12 years ago when I started this adventure, yes, I went to the big box stores and I got myself a 6,800 watt generator, got a transfer switch. Okay, recently I just went to Tri-Fuel and hooked it into my natural gas line. But if the power's out, so's the gas going to be out. Okay, so you're going to have to store some form of gas. I can store propane, but all of these sources are going to run out. Okay, period. They're going to run out. Now I do have a little 2,000 watts, 56 decibel generator, which I have 18 gallons of gas for that. I'm figuring maybe 5 to 7 days at the most if I don't run it continuously. And I am able to store propane, which is good because that doesn't have to be rotated. Okay, you can just keep that almost forever. But the 6,800 watt generator has 75 decibels or better. It's pretty loud. Now, during a hurricane, during a sporadic outages, you bring it out, you start it up, there's no problem, folks, right? Even if I had to go to the 56 decibel small generator, that's a lot quieter, okay? But during those situations, it really doesn't matter how loud it is, okay? You just got to hope you don't run out of a fuel source. But I'm recently purchased a solar generator. Not the ones that you put on your house, which feed into the grid. Not the one, the DIY system that you have to build with batteries. This came in a box, and I've tested it out, and actually I bought a second one. If I had to do it all over again, all right, I would go totally solar for the stealth reason. Okay, and I'll give you an example. If it's civil unrest, folks, and you have to fire up a 79 decibel generator, which is very loud, I'm going to be honest with you, that's the dinner bell for the gangs. Period. They're coming. So if you use the solar generator with 3 or 5 solar panels, and hopefully it's sunny out, my criteria was that it ran my refrigerator and my little freezer. And I've tested it out, and it does very well. And nobody knows what I have. What did I tell you on 1A? You don't want anybody to know that you have more than they do. And that qualifies real well on that point, doesn't it? Now, the next video is, what are you going to do if your significant other or your family just doesn't buy into preparing? God knows I have no idea why they wouldn't, after seeing what's happened for 3 months. At least having a full pantry and water. I mean, minimum. But if you remember, it is going to take money and sacrifice. And some people, a lot of people in this country, are very complacent. And if this sort of this lull continues, people just want everything to go back to normal. Okay? And that's complacency, because anything can happen. And this can all happen again. There's a lot of things going on that I still don't understand, and I'm not going to get into that right now. But maybe in the other videos I will. But I don't know how to advise you. That's something where maybe you could, reasonably intelligent people, just nicely talk about the situation, tell them what you're going to do, and just see if they go your way. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. There's been a lot of pressure, even for me. But I'm thick-skinned, and I believe I know what's right. Of course, I always think I'm right. Sorry about that, folks. But I would rather go meet my maker, being known as the doom and gloomist old man in the house who prepared for something that just never happened. I'll be all right with that. I guess I can die with that. Because if we're right that something is going to happen, which we hope it never does, a lot of people are going to get hurt. A lot of people are going to die. But we're going to try to be prepared as much as we can for that. Okay, moving on now. The next video is going to be a review of everything. And of course, on the 5th video, I've opened up the comments, and we'll go over all your comments, what your questions are. I'm not too good on the computer about answering any of the comments, but I will write them all down, and I will answer them all right on the air. Okay? Now, I have a lot of predictions and scenarios that I might run by you that might make you think, I need to be prepared. And maybe you could have your significant other that doesn't buy into it watch this video. Now, this video is a good 50 minutes by the time I sign out. My other videos will only be 10, 15 minutes at the most. Please stay with me. And I just wanted to say that if I can help one person, that'll be my my pay, folks. Be honest with you. One person, that'll be my pay. And I'll know just by looking at the views. I plan on about every 4 weeks making a video until I'm done. If I see a lot of interest and a lot of views, I'll make them every 2 weeks. Okay? So right now I'm going to let you go. And please look for my other 6 videos that are going to be out there. And just give it a chance and let it sink in. And see if you agree or don't. Well, look, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.